from what you're seeing with your clients, perhaps if we start from a visa immigration perspective, what are the immediate challenges? Then moving on to perhaps some of the second questions around some of the tax relief measures. And if I start that just by setting it up and very much echoing what Ryan was saying, we're in a period of survival. If we look at statistics of how much cash flow do businesses have to sustain themselves through a lockdown and non-trading, it's quite frightening. And Cecilia and I were going through the statistics from the UK last night, whereas 6% of companies have already run out of money. 64% have 3 months cash flow, which is quite frightening. And I imagine those organizations are slightly better equipped than the South African businesses because of the comparative economic strengths. Well, last week we spoke about Edcon dying, but much like many of the COVID victims, there were significant underlying health issues there. So perhaps if you were struggling before and you were innovating slowly, you're gonna struggle to come out of this. But perhaps, Marisa, you can actually jump in there and say, what are you seeing with your clients, and what are the impacts of it on some of the visa implications right now?
Sure, thanks, Leon. I think from an international mobility perspective, there's definitely a couple of things that are top of mind for employers at the moment. The one is, of course, around the expatriate resources who are currently in country with expiring visas and expiring passports, who were at the end of their assignments or at the end of their visa period and due to travel back home or due to renew, and now are in a position where they can't. There's, of course, a number of visa categories where you, either because you've reached the maximum period or because the conditions don't allow you to extend, where you would normally have to travel back to home country. The Department of Home Affairs has made some concessions available and special processes whereby employers can ensure that their foreign nationals remain compliant by extending those visas, at least in the short term. So there is a lot of focus on that, and employers looking to ensure all their expats remain fully compliant and legal. And then, of course, on the other hand, there are a lot of guys who were due to come in now in the second quarter to start off on new assignments and start off on new projects, who now can't, of course, because of travel restrictions, but also once the lockdowns are lifted and travel restrictions are lessened, they would of course still need to get visas to enter the country. Some of them might have visas that have been revoked, or they previously didn't need to have visas to travel to South Africa on business, who will now need visas. And what we're seeing is most of the South African embassies abroad are either completely closed because of lockdown, or they have less services at the moment. They're only looking after civic services, or they've been assigned to not proceed with normal services at the moment. They're rather looking at South Africans who are stranded abroad and how to facilitate getting them back home again. That's become their core function at the moment. So we are in constant communication, sometimes daily, with those embassies to make sure that we are preparing applications for people who need to urgently enter South Africa for critical projects, to make sure that they are ready once those embassies do open up for services again, so that they are so that they get assisted first to be able to travel back to South Africa. Yeah, so that's definitely the two items that are top of mind for employers at the moment, and we're trying to facilitate that as best as we can, with, of course, Home Affairs being closed at the moment, and the embassies